Thank you. Thank you. I bring you tidings from the president today. He called me the other day after he was over here. He was so pumped up. I understood he was here for an hour and a half. He bet me I couldn't talk longer than an hour and a half. So sit back, guys. We're going to have a little fun this afternoon. It is truly an honor, in all seriousness, for me to be here today. I want to thank Ralph Reed and the whole team at Faith and Freedom for all the good work that Faith and Freedom does in my home state of Georgia and indeed around the country. As a matter of fact, I think we have a few Georgians here again this year, don't we? You know, folks, unfortunately, what I have to talk about today is very serious. We should all agree today that we're in an ideological war for the future of our way of life here in America. It's just that simple. Democrats want to convert America to a socialist state. Winston Churchill once said that the problem with capitalism is the imperfect distribution of prosperity. The problem with socialism is the perfect distribution of misery. However, this socialism talk didn't just start with Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. Over the past 100 years, America has been on a slow slide towards socialism. In that time, we've had 4 political supermajorities, all Democrat. Republicans have never had a supermajority since the Senate began to be elected in 1913. Those supermajorities gave us the New Deal, the Great Society, Obamacare, and Dodd-Frank. And I'm just a business guy, but I can put at the feet of those supermajorities most of the responsibility of this current financial catastrophe. And the irony is that these big, sweeping federal programs have all failed the very people that the Democrats claim to champion, the working poor and the working men and women of America. Let me give you a couple of examples. The poverty rate today is the same as it was in 1965 when the Great Society's war on poverty was initiated. Same, exact same. In 1975, before the Department of Education was created, our 14-year-olds were #1 in the world in math, science, and reading. And yet today, decades later, after spending trillions of dollars from this top-down plan, we're 38th in math, 24th in science, and indeed 24th in reading. We can do better than that. Obamacare has collapsed under its own weight and has completely failed. The Medicare Trust Fund goes to zero in 7 years. The Social Security Trust Fund goes to zero in 16 years. Guys, I can do this all day, but my wife says about this time, David, just shut up. You can bring any cocktail party to its knees talking like this. It's true, but I'm not done yet. Fannie Mae is bankrupt. Freddie Mac is bankrupt. The Postal Service is bankrupt. The VA has been a disaster and an embarrassment for years. Let's be clear, though, today. The Democrats have had the opportunity after opportunity to prove that what they believe in, this socialist way of life, this top-down control, will work. And they failed every single time. You can't name one of these federal programs over the last 100 years that's been a whopping success. But I got good news for you today. Great news, as a matter of fact. Thanks to you and many like you around the world, Donald J. Trump is President of the United States of America today. He has a vision. He didn't come from the bubble here in Washington. He's an outsider like I am. This guy's focused on getting results, guys. After 8 years of the lowest economic growth in U.S. history under Barack Obama, President Trump said that job one was to grow the economy. I was honored to be in a small group in the White House 2 weeks after President Trump was inaugurated to determine the agenda for the first 2 years. We agreed to focus on regulation, energy, taxes, and Dodd-Frank. And guess what? The president went to work and made it happen, guys. In President Trump's first 2 years, you know, we talk about the shining object of the Democrats all the time. Listen to this. In the first 2 years under President Trump's leadership, right away, we reversed over 2,000 regulations. We unleashed America's energy potential and became the world's largest provider of natural gas and oil in the world. We passed a historic tax bill that made us more competitive with the rest of the world and actually freed up a couple of $1 trillion of capital to come back in the United States from unrepatriated U.S. profits overseas. How smart do you have to be to do that? We repealed the most onerous parts of Dodd-Frank and freed up over $2 trillion on the balance sheets of our smallest community banks and regional banks around the country. You realize that under Dodd-Frank, we had lost 17,000 banks since President Obama put that law into effect? As a result, we're now experiencing the greatest economic turnaround in U.S. history. The economy is growing at twice the rate as it did under Barack Obama. You know what? President Trump, as an outsider, the most important thing is to keep his promises to him. He has a list of things that he promised he would do. This guy he's meeting his promise and doing exactly what he said he would do. In addition to stimulating the economy, he's rebuilding our military after 8 years of President Obama's administration of gutting our military. And how long did it take for an American president to stand up for Americans first? President Trump is fighting for a level playing field with all of our trading partners, including the People's Republic of China. President Trump's good at a lot of things, but one thing he's really good at is making things very clear. He's made it very clear that America comes first, but America first does not mean America alone. He is rebuilding all of our allied relationships. He's getting our NATO allies to pay their fair share for their own defense, the first time since World War II. He repealed the most damaging part of the Obamacare, and that's individual mandate. He repealed that. And guys, I'm proud of this. In 1991, Congress had a law in the books that actually required a president to do this. But it took 4 or 5 presidents. It took President Trump to get elected. He came in and realized there was a law, and guess what he did? He moved the United States Embassy from Israel, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He said he would drain the swamp. Remember that? He said he would drain the swamp. Guess what? As I stand here today, 4,300 people have been removed from the VA for not doing their jobs, guys. 4,300 people. And we're not done there. We have another bill that would allow all the other agencies to do the same thing. Imagine that. You have to have an act of Congress to fire people. I'm just a business guy, but if you ran the rest of the world the way Washington's run right now, we wouldn't be where we are today. The thing that is most generationally impact, though, that will impact our country for the next several generations, our kids and our kids' kids, is that under President Trump, we've confirmed 123 federal judges, including 80 district court judges, 41 circuit court of appeal justices, and 2 Supreme Court justices, including Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. I came to Washington to try to help change the direction of the country, but we needed somebody like President Trump to break some eggs up here and actually get it done, guys. These are definitely promises made and promises kept. Now the president's focused on immigration, trade, and infrastructure. Let me tell you, he's not taking a victory lap on all his accomplishments. He's now looking forward. He's driving ahead. He calls me early in the morning, calls late at night. I spend time with him in the White House. You know, sometimes he's exhausting, guys. I mean, but he works. He works, and he cares about people in America. Isn't it great to have somebody in the White House who is actually focused on getting results? And here's what I'm most proud of. I really am. He will never articulate it this way. He and I have a little different style of communicating, you might have noticed, right? But he believes this in his heart. He's proving that what we believe in actually works. Think about it. The Democrats have had 100 years. They failed every time. Now we've done this, and in 2 years is the best economic turnaround in U.S. history. We're proving that what we believe in actually works. He's returning to the principles that made America great in the first place and made this economic miracle the greatest in humankind history. Economic opportunity for everybody, fiscal responsibility, limited government, and individual liberty, something that we cannot take for granted. But let me tell you this. He gets beat up every day. Look at the national news. You see it, I see it. The Democrats are on a mission. This is obstructionism on a historic level. If you don't believe that, look at just last night's debate. I've never seen 20 people or 10 people more out of touch with reality in my life. I believe they... But we have to wake up to this. I never thought in my lifetime I'd be standing here having to defend capitalism, but I have to tell you this. Our way of life is in jeopardy. I never thought I'd be sitting here talking about capitalism versus socialism. I didn't ask for this fight, but like you, I'm up for it. This is our time. If we don't do it, who will? If we don't do it now, when will we do it? Radical Democrats are telling the world, I believe in George Patton. I read your book, I read your book. They believe socialism is better than capitalism. They're not going to say the word socialism, but everything they're talking about is indeed that. They believe in a single-party system. They believe in open borders. They believe they want effectively to legalize infanticide. I mean, would you have ever imagined in a lifetime we'd be here, sitting here having a party condone that? They want to abolish ICE. They want illegal immigrants and felons to have the right to vote. They want to give an annual wage to anyone who is either unable or unwilling to work. Really? They want to increase taxes, obviously. They want socialized medicine. That's failed everywhere in the world, including Bernie Sanders' own home state, guys. It failed. They want the Green New Deal, the modern monetary theory. These aren't minor changes, folks. These are radical proposals that would bring socialism to the United States in 2 years. That's why today's new Democratic Socialist Party wants to perpetrate on America. Why? Because they can't talk about their results. They can't talk about their big programs. They have to talk about a new way. Well, we've got a good way. It's been proven over 230 years if we'll pay attention to it. But if the Democrats win the White House, take the majority in the Senate, and keep the House, they'll take our country down a destructive road to socialism and a one-party political system. You have to listen to what they're actually saying. They're saying they would end the filibuster rule in the United States Senate, and that would allow them to actually do some of these things. They want to add seats to the Supreme Court. You can imagine what they would do with that. They want to make Puerto Rico and D.C. a state. Imagine what the Electoral College would look like at that point. And they want to abolish the Electoral College anyway. So this is what they're saying. Democrats will do all this so they can cram their socialist agenda down the throats of the American people. Folks, what's at stake here is our freedom. They want a single-party system in America, just like Russia did in 1917, Germany in 1933, Cuba in 1959, and Venezuela later in the 20th century. How'd that all work out? Really? Each of these attempts for state control and power have failed and led to failed states every single time. You and I just cannot let this radical left take our country down that road to socialism. The only thing standing in their way right now is you and me. I'm so grateful that you come to things like this because that's how we stand up to these guys. This is bigger than me, though. It's bigger than you. It's even bigger than the President of the United States. This is about the future of our country and the future of our children and our children's children. Remember this. The price of socialism is freedom. The price of socialism is freedom. The price of socialism is freedom. You have to make sure that we tell our kids and our kids' kids and everybody that we know the price of socialism is freedom. And listen to what Ronald Reagan said. Ronald Reagan even reminded us, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We don't pass it down in the bloodstream. It's got to be passed, it's got to be fought for, protected, and passed on so they can do the same thing. Or one day, in our sunset years, we'll be telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in America when women and men were free. Folks, that can't happen. You and I have to ensure that socialism never comes to America. God bless you. Thank you for being here. God bless America. Thank you.